Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here. Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio,
your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, shut, everybody. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force, and so much more. Great to be with you, and happy that you're here with us this week. Now more than ever. That's right. The numbers are in. The numbers are in, and the numbers that we're posting are bigger than ever, and we appreciate it so much. We don't talk about numbers here a lot. You know, it's inside baseball kind of stuff. We don't talk about the numbers because we have the numbers, but we also want you to know that you are listening to the galaxy's most listened to Star Wars podcast, and we owe that all to you. So thank you for listening each and every week with us and to us. We've got a great, really fun show this week. We're going to get our toy on later on in the cantina. We've got Scott, the toy guru, Neitlich. He's a huge Star Wars fan, collector, toy maker, formerly with Mattel and Jakks Pacific. And he's got a new YouTube channel called Spectre Creative, and he's putting out some really, really great content. So if you're into Star Wars collecting, particularly the modern line, post-1995, it's going to be of great interest to you. He'll be talking to us about that coming up. And maybe we'll get to the bottom of some of these questions that we've been asking as collectors these days. Plus, Star Wars and pop culture is back this week, and we'll check in with with all of you via the Rebel Force Radio voicemail box. And I am so fortunate that I don't have to do all of this alone. Joining me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Have you started decorating yet for May the 4th? Boy,
oh, my gosh. I'm late this year. It's the May the 4th creep. It just sneaks up on you.
Creeped up on you, huh? Yeah, we got the lights are all outside and the decorations and the Baby Yoda nativity scene in front of the house, you know, things like that. Stuff like that.
Right.
You know, good wholesome stuff. And so, yeah, May the 4th is coming up this Tuesday. And man, have we just sat back and watched that thing explode.
It's weird when it falls on a Tuesday, isn't it? Doesn't it just feel weird?
Got to go to work.
Right.
You know, why do we work? Why isn't it a national holiday?
It really should be, especially with big events like the premiere of The Bad Batch.
Yeah, that's happening on Tuesday, May the 4th. Have we figured out our after show plans yet? We're going to do one. I think we're going to go live. We're going to go live Tuesday, May 4th. Let's do that.
Okay.
And then we'll follow it up with maybe one more live show on Friday, the 7th.
Sure, why not?
Is that doable?
I think so.
Good. Let's try doing that and see how well it goes. So next week, look for 2 Bad Batch after shows coming from us here at Rebel Force Radio. The thing is, we're not so ready to commit to maybe a full run of after shows, whether or not it continues to be a live standalone thing on its own, or it just gets incorporated into the weekly RFR as a segment. That's yet to be determined. I think we want to stick our toes in the water, the Bad Batch water first, to see if it's going to have the legs.
We don't know.
I think it is. It looks pretty strong. But yeah, we don't know what we're getting into here because, sure, it's a follow-up to the Clone Wars, no question about it. But it's missing 2 very important elements, and that would be George Lucas and Dave Filoni, especially Dave Filoni's day-to-day handprints on it. I think Filoni might be involved maybe in an executive producer position, but we know that he's putting all of his efforts toward the Ahsoka series and season 3 of The Mandalorian. He's got his hands too full to be
Book of
messing
Boba
around with-
Fett as well.
Yeah, Book of
Yeah.
Boba Fett. I think Dave is working on that, but I'm not 100% sure. That's Robert Rodriguez, of course, is brought in to work on that. And I know that Jon Favreau is working on that as well. But
So not a foregone conclusion that where Favreau goes, Filoni goes.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. And I'm still uncertain about Jon Favreau's involvement in the Ahsoka series. Is that going to be all Dave Filoni, or is that going to be have the Favreau touch on it as well? I'm sure the information's out there on the internet, so we'll look it up at some point or find it out at some point. But I think Dave Filoni's got his hands too full to be working on the Bad Batch. But I'm looking forward to it, and I certainly hope it carries forward the rich tradition of storytelling and animation that the Clone Wars gave us.
Well, and we may have a clue coming up here in just a minute in our news segment about perhaps a cameo. We got a headline here that we want to talk about. Hit the news.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news.
Come closer, I have good news.
So our good buddy, Matt Lanter, you know him as Anakin Skywalker. I know him as, that guy that used to live up the street from me, Matt Lanter. No, literally, he did. For a short time. Now he's like half the country. They moved to Nashville. Everybody's moving to Nashville these days. I know.
This is true. This is true. A lot of our Clone Wars friends are setting down shop in Nashville, which I like because its proximity to both of us is really nice. And I really do want to do a live RFR from Nashville. And that's something I want to make happen.
Oh, I'm down with that. Anytime you want to do that, I'm down with that.
It's possible it could happen this summer. So I have stormtroopers at our service in Nashville. So if you guys are listening, get a hold of me and let's see if we can actually plan something, maybe for this summer.
I lived in Nashville for, that'd be great. I lived in Nashville for a year and fell in love with it. And I don't get there often enough. I love Nashville.
If you haven't been there for a while, you might not recognize it. It's grown so much.
It has.
So, but great town.
Really great. But anyway, we're so happy. Last time we had Matt Lanter on the program, he was talking about his Netflix series that he's working on, Jupiter's Legacy, and it is just around the corner. I think it's going to premiere here this month or
next week.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah.
And boy, he looks like $1 million in these promos that I've been seeing. He's all dressed up, and I don't know much about the characters or the really much about it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Of course, we want to support Matt, but it also looks really, really good. But anyway, so yeah. Matt's been doing.
I've been thinking about it since he pulled you and me aside at Skywalker Rises in Ohio, and he showed us on his phone. He's like, "Look at this."
Yeah,
and he's wearing the superhero uniform.
Right.
And he looks so badass. So I caught a glimpse of him in the trailer, but I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in the show. So I think that's next week on Netflix, I believe.
Yeah, so make sure you stream that, Jupiter's Legacy. But anyway, Matt's been making the rounds. He's been talking to people like Nick Romano at Entertainment Weekly. And, of course, where Matt Lanter goes, the subject of Star Wars certainly follows. And Matt, as he's done many times here on Rebel Force Radio, he'll peel the curtain back a little bit and say what's going on. And he was quoted as saying, though he was out promoting Jupiter's Legacy, that, quote, "There's some new Lucasfilm animation going on. I've been a part of some things that I can't talk about yet. You'll see Anakin again," he said. "I never quite put Anakin down, whether I'm doing a video game or something new for Lucasfilm animation." Now, Nick goes on to speculate, Jim, that perhaps he could be referring to an Anakin appearance in The Bad Batch.
Maybe.
So could there be a cameo? What do we know about The Bad Batch? We know what happens after the Clone Wars, but we don't know when exactly it begins in terms of could it happen just before Order 66, just before the turn of Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader? We don't know.
Right. And I think it might be a long shot for Matt to return in The Bad Batch as Anakin, just because of the timeline thing. And because I think there are certain elements of where Darth Vader is during that period that they probably want to reveal in the Kenobi series. So I don't think they want to blow their... Well, no, that's not a good way to put it.
I knew where you were going.
Yeah, fill in the blanks, ladies and gentlemen. Play some Mad Libs with what I was just about to say, because I really didn't mean it to sound like it was going to sound. But I think they don't want to expose or overexpose the Anakin character before we see Hayden and Kenobi next year. So, unfortunately, I'm feeling like it's a Lego thing. You know, it seems like that's always there to throw a wrench into the works. I'm voicing something for Lucasfilm. Anthony Daniels recently recorded 3PO dialogue. What could it be? And you find out, it's a Lego thing. Bummer, man.
I mean, the last big Lego project we saw was the holiday special, the Lego holiday special, which was fun. I know that there's a big, my son is just been dying for this new Lego video game, the complete Skywalker saga. That in the Lego video games, you know, if you got a youngin, a Padawan, they're so good for them. You know, as sort of their entry into, you know, big console games. He's been so excited for that, and they just keep pushing it back and pushing it back.
They keep delaying it. Yeah, Daniel Logan's doing a voice in that. And, they keep pushing it back. Yeah,
it was supposed to be out with Episode 9 just a couple years ago. And then it was, you know, the pandemic hit and all that. But hopefully we're going to see that. So maybe it's that. I don't know. But I mean, Matt's a friend of the show. We could probably find out. We should get him on and see, get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
What he's hinting at. He also, he talked a little bit about the series finale and was very happy, of course, as he's expressed here on the show, about they were able to give it a proper farewell. Though he did talk about Ahsoka and, you know, the new sort of journey that character's on. He says, I do wonder about Ahsoka's journey. In my hopes and dreams, the show is, referring to the Ahsoka series, the live-action series, is just Ahsoka's ending for Clone Wars. She gets such a deserved, beautiful, incredible ending, one that I feel this character truly deserved. In my opinion, there's so many more Ahsoka stories to tell, and it's my hope that we continue to get those stories, no matter the medium, animation, film, television, books, or video games. So there's Sky Guy, Master Skywalker, talking about Snips. They've come such a long way.
Maybe that will be the next animated show, Sky Guy and Snips.
Oh,
that would be a good title for the show.
And it would be that like that Japanime kind of like real, you know, in your face, super rapid dialogue, Cartoon Network style thing. You know what am I thinking? Like World of Gumball or something? I don't know, something like.
Or it could be live action with actors in costumes like the Banana Splits, and
Sid and Marty Krofft present Sky Guy.
Yeah, that's what it'd be like. Yeah, Sky Guy and Snips. Go to the land of the lost. You want to talk about the Bad Batch before we jump into voicemail? Because there's just some speculation I'd like to throw out there before the first episode airs.
2 episodes. So we've got 2 next week.
That's right. Yeah, there's the one that's going to drop on May the 4th. They want to, be sure they celebrate May the 4th with the first episode of The Bad Batch. It's going to be over 70 minutes long. I believe 75 minutes long.
The premiere episode.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's almost like a double episode because episode 2, then coming on Friday night, is going to be 31 minutes long.
So we're looking at basically you might as well consider this sort of a movie, a little movie between the Friday, the Tuesday, and the Friday. So over 100 minutes, right?
And then the following week, episode 3, 28 minutes long. So it looks like we'll be averaging about half an hour per episode. Kevin Kiner has revealed that he has scored 14 episodes at this point.
Oh, Kiner is back. All right.
Yeah, Kiner is back, and he'll be the composer for The Bad Batch. So there's some consistency there with the Clone Wars. As we know, this is a spin-off of the Clone Wars, so hopefully as many crew members as possible will be brought back to work on this show. Maybe guys like Joel Aaron, Keith Kellogg, etc., the superstars that survived the guillotine that went down on Lucas Animation when Disney took over. But we do know The Bad Batch will be at least 14 episodes long. There's no clarity as to whether or not those 14 episodes are all season 1, or it could be maybe he started working on season 2 already. I'm not sure, but at least we know there's going to be 14 episodes. But I just warn people not to think that all 14 episodes are going to be season 1. That's all. They might be, but it's hard to tell. Going back to a rumor I had heard a while ago, and it picked up steam on the internet via places like Reddit and blogs and stuff. Someone had told me, someone in the know, said that the Bad Batch are going to be responsible for protecting someone very young and someone very important. And when they revealed this information to me, it was right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of season 2 of The Mandalorian. So I immediately thought, well, the obvious tie-in would be to have Baby Yoda be that young, important individual. Then when I started poking around a little further, it appeared that it was still being left very vague to me. But I was beginning to think it was going to be either Luke or Leia. That could also be a possibility. Then we got the trailer, and it was a weird kid. So I think that's who we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to get people upset by, oh, you told us Baby Yoda's going to be in the Bad Batch. I said when I originally said it that was mere speculation, and I told you exactly what I heard. Protection of something very young and important. So obviously I was thinking Baby Yoda. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Sure.
But now seeing this kid, this weird kid in the trailer, that leads me to believe that's who the subject matter at hand. That's the young, important individual. And so we talked about this on our review of the Bad Batch trailer, and then I got further information about the kid. Apparently, if you turn on the closed caption, it reveals that the kid's name is Omega. Okay? Omega. I have yet to confirm this. I have not watched the trailer with the closed caption fired up, but somebody told me that it says the kid's name is Omega. So what does Omega mean? The last, the final, or the end, or the bottom?
You know, Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah. Right. So the Alpha, if Omega is a clone, as has been speculated, then Omega could be a clone of Palpatine himself. And people say this because of the kid's hairstyle. The hairstyle, they say, resembles the look Palpatine had in one of those final episodes of Rebels, where Ezra is looking through the mirrors on the world between worlds. He's looking through the portal, and he sees Palpatine, and it's Palpatine as the senator, Palpatine as the chancellor. It's not Palpatine the emperor yet. So he's seeing what is apparently a hologram or some sort of way of distorting the emperor's real image to make him look like a friendly old guy. And so they point at that moment in Rebels and say, look at Palpatine's hair in that animation model. It's the same as Omega in the Bad Batch trailer. So that's pretty interesting information about this kid. I still get funny feeling about the kid, though. So I hope the kid does tie into the big picture. And Palpatine, obviously, is the big picture. So that's what's going on.
So here's the kid. For those of you who are watching the video, we're looking at the kid, and he's kind of got this sort of blondish, light hairstyle. Kind of flares out at the sides a little bit, but slicked back, pulled back, and then we've got Palpatine.
I don't see it.
I don't really see it either, to be honest with you.
I don't see it. This is the first time I've done the A/B comparison. Again, I'm just going off what people have told me. I don't see it at all. Maybe it's more like a Palpatine hairstyle. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it's more like a Palpatine hairstyle from the Phantom Menace.
Could be
what I'm seeing.
Though I've never noticed.
Somebody said, if you look at Rebels, you'll see it looks like Palpatine. But now you're putting the pictures up on the screen. I don't see it at all.
I'm looking at Palpatine and Rebels, and I see Leslie Nielsen from the Naked Gun a little bit.
Shirley, you're joking. Don't call me Shirley. Whatever.
Oh man, that's what I see. I have talked a little bit about Bad Batch and sort of in light of and within context of all these other Star Wars projects we know that are coming down the pike, Kenobi, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett. The Bad Batch sort of kind of when you sift it down, it sort of settles a little bit lower on my excitement meter, but. As we get close to May the 4th and as we get closer to new Star Wars and something resembling the greatness of that animation from the Clone Wars, I am excited. And I think that there's greater emphasis being put on sort of making this stuff tie in. I hope they do it responsibly and reasonably and all of that. So I don't think we're going to be on a journey where there's not a whole lot of tie-in and continuity. I think that the Bad Batch is here to tell a very, I hope, a specific story, a focused story. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and it does, and you hope it ties in.
Yes.
And now that the saga, episodes 1 through 9, is completed, then I think it provides a lot of opportunity to fill in the blanks now. And I have a pick to click. This week, Marvel released Darth Vader number 11. And talk about filling in some of the blanks. Very interesting stuff going on in the Darth Vader comics right now. Vader confronts Palpatine on Exegol, the planet where, obviously, the Emperor had his hideout and he was building, he was gathering reinforcements for his empire. All those Star Destroyers underground and everything like that. And there's just some very interesting little reveals, teases, inferences that can be made by looking at the panels of that comic. So, very interesting stuff going on with Marvel Star Wars Darth Vader. It just came out this week, so I hesitate to talk about it in any great detail.
I'm glad you brought up the comic because I got a text today from RFR friend, longtime friend, Joel Kramer. Kramer. And he says, and I think because Joel is, I love this. He goes, I got two texts from him. First was, there's a new comic with Vader on Exegol. I hope Jimmy reads it and explains it for the rest of us so I don't have to.
It's worth looking at, man.
All right.
Come on, Kramer. Give yourself
we'll tell him to do it.
10 minutes to read the comic. It's not a big commitment, and it's fun. I like it. I like seeing Vader in the sequel environments. To me, that gives more legitimacy to the story of the sequel in general. And the course of the events in this story happen over between Empire and Jedi. All right. So you have to take that into consideration when you're reading the comic, because there's one image in a panel in particular that is very interesting.
Oh, I don't see
very, when you consider,
we all gotta look at it.
When you consider the events of episode 5 and episode 9.
Ooh.
So, yeah. I think that's exciting. I like that. I like anything that's providing some more solid context between all three trilogies. I love the stuff that ties it all in. And That's what the Vader comic's all about right now.
There's one other thing that Joel sent me. I just want to, as soon as I read it, I'm like, I want to throw that at Jimmy Mac this week. See what he says. He goes, calling it now. Story Group is going to make Snoke a clone of Luke. But I called it years ago with those blue eyes. But it was probably abandoned at the time. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a possibility that we could find out that Snoke is a failed clone of Luke Skywalker? Those
I'd like to discuss that, but again, I'll be getting into spoiler territory for Darth Vader number 11.
Oh, okay. All right. So maybe maybe Joel does
Joel. Okay. Something tells me
Kramer.
Joel read the comic and he doesn't want to admit it.
Well, he was hoping you would do that so that
Kramer
have to. All right. Well, that's fun stuff. So as soon as I'm done recording the show, I'm going to go onto the app and I'm going to download that issue because now I got to do it. Now I got to. All right. So, want to go to the voicemail? See what's going on.
Let's do some voicemail. Let's hear what the peeps have to say.
Let's do it.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message? Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Chud, Jason. Chud, Jimmy.
Chud.
This is Jim from California. On last week's podcast, Jimmy Mack asked about a comic or a book called Balance of the Force. There are no books or comics with that title. The only thing pertaining to that title is a quote that George Lucas stated called Balance of the Force about removing toxicity from the Force or toxins from the blood, making the Force pure by keeping the light side and removing the dark side. That's not exactly how it's quoted, but if you look up Balance of the Force, a quote by George Lucas, I believe it was in December of 2017, you'll get the correct quote. But there you go. Thanks a lot. May the Force be with you guys.
All right. Well, George Lucas has talked about Balance of the Force a few times. I think he's specifically referring to that wacky interview that George did with James Cameron, which is, still this day, I still haven't seen the entire interview. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, where he talks about how his sequels would have been about the micro the cellular level of Force and all that, and the blood and all that, whatever. He was setting that stuff up in the Phantom Menace, obviously. But Balance of the Force, really, if it comes from the Phantom Menace. Mace Windu says it. He says it when Anakin is presented to the Jedi Council. You believe this boy will... What does he say? Bring balance to the Force?
Yeah, he said, right. He says
something along those lines.
About the prophecy. You're referring to the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
Boy?
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
That's Mace Windu, and that's where Balance of the Force comes from. And I thought it would have been a perfect title for Episode 1. Would have been a great title, but George went with the Phantom Menace instead, which has a more pulpy feel for sure. And the Phantom Menace was actually used as the title of a comic book during the EU era, when before the Phantom Menace was ever released as a film. So it was
really. I don't think I knew that. Really?
I believe it was the X-Wing Rogue Squadron comic series from Dark Horse. I believe there was a story arc called The Phantom Menace.
Wow. I did not know that.
Or the Phantom, maybe it was The Phantom Affair. That's what it was. Yeah, it wasn't The Phantom Menace. Okay. It was The Phantom Affair. George comes up with Phantom Menace. And I'll admit that when I first heard that title, it fell a little flat on me. I was expecting, I don't know, The Phantom Menace. I think Balance of the Force would have had a huge impact on me, knowing that was going to be Episode 1. We know the working title for Episode 1 for a long time was just simply The Beginning. And George didn't even really have a title for it until late in the game. It was just referred to The Beginning or Episode 1. And that was how the shooting script was labeled as the beginning. And it was,
of course, that was the first episode of that great those that mini documentary that showed up on StarWars.com in those early days, where it was him sitting there handwriting.
I just need an idea.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you had like a decade and a half of doing nothing. You didn't think of anything during that time? Oh, little ideas, I got a notebook over here. Come on, give us a movie. How tough can it be? Be George Lucas, damn it.
Still, what you had posed, Jim, before was, yes, clearly the balance of the Force has been a topic in Star Wars for a long time.
Yeah,
but there has never been anything. It's not been used as a title, whether it be a comic or a book or anything. And so, your idea was maybe this is a phrase that is protected at Lucasfilm, that it's sort of off limits. Could it be? Could it show up somewhere at some point if George ever wants to, definitively define it?
I mean, is it that profound of a Lucas idea that it could never be used? It's so profound, we can never use balance of the Force.
Yeah.
Because then maybe that would require some definition of balance of the Force.
We could do a whole show on balance of the Force, because if you just Google it, you'll find George quotes from, ranging from back, as we were talking about, from 1999 all the way through 2017. Talking about it. It was very hard. As a matter of fact, I think I know we've talked to Dave Filoni about it, defining it. What is it? But I don't want to say it's all over the place, but there's a lot of different ways to define what the balance is. Is it the eradication of the dark? Is it the dark and the light being some sort of equality or equilibrium, whatever you want to say?
It doesn't mean equal halves of dark and light. It means complete eradication of the dark side.
Of the dark.
Yes. And the Sith had acquired such a grasp of the dark side that they were able to throw the Force out of balance for the light side users. So that's where balance of the Force comes from. It's a Jedi thing. It means the Force has achieved its purity and they can access the light side with greater ease because there isn't the dark side clogging it up. It's almost like to have balance of the Force is very much like taking a laxative, where you have to get all of the dark side out of your system to be able to access the light side. Does that make any sense?
I think so.
This episode of Rebel Force Radio brought to you by Miralax.
Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody!
I had to. All right, Star Wars in pop culture. We got something from what is this? The Flash TV series?
Coulter Gill from the official Rebel Force Radio Facebook group tipped me off to this. And he says, you got to look at The Flash, Season 7, which is the current season right now. Season 7, Episode 7, Growing Pains. No, it's not a Kirk Cameron appearance. It's a Star Wars reference. To set this up, Chester, Chester from The Flash, right, Jason?
Oh, yes,
of course you do.
Big fan.
He sees a frozen car, and out of his shock and dismay, he references Star Wars to show his surprise at what he's seeing.
Holy baby, Grogu.
That's right. I don't know if you could hear it clearly.
What?
Play it one more time, Jason.
Holy baby, Grogu.
He says, "Holy baby Grogu or Grogu."
Okay, is this the first pop culture reference to Grogu?
That's exactly why we're spotlighting it on the show. I think this is the very first. Yeah, and I like how he combines baby and Grogu, because then you're maintaining the integrity of the Baby Yoda nickname while incorporating it into actual canon with the Grogu name. So well played, The Flash. You play one more time, Jason?
Yes, please.
Holy baby, Grogu.
Holy Baby Grogu. If Robin the Boy Wonder, if Burt Ward was surprised by something today, he might say, Holy Baby Grogu, Batman. Holy Baby Grogu, Batman. See how well it works? So somebody called Burt Ward because Chester is stealing his shtick, and using it on another DC property.
I mean, not only is it the first Grogu pop culture reference, but it's within the DC universe. I mean, this is just getting so...
Right. It's not a Marvel property.
Right.
Well, I like to see that the Star Wars references can cross over to other studios and other franchises like that. It just shows the power of Star Wars. Like, you would never have the Mandalorian Din Djarin saying something like, well, I sure could use a Batmobile in a moment like this. You'll never hear him do something like that.
No, wouldn't
or
happen.
It's like, we have to find Moff Gideon's kryptonite. He'd never do that. He'd never say that. That's the Star Wars universe is very inclusive. It's very, or I should say exclusive. It's very enclosed is the word I was looking for. You can't just have someone popping off. You even hear Holy Baby Grogu in The Mandalorian. You wouldn't even hear that. Holy Baby Grogu. It's like Finnick Shan says it. Holy Baby Grogu. It's like, Finnick, why are you wearing green underpants? Because she's Robin. She's Robin.
I see. Okay. All right.
She's Robin.
It's not about her
I know,
underpants.
Jason. I know. It's hard to follow sometimes. Okay, so that's the Flash.
Yes.
Let's flash back.
Yes.
To the mid 80s, I should say, and the Ewok films. We've been talking about them since they debuted earlier in the month on Disney Plus. We were talking to Ewok actor Eric Walker. And as you know from listening to the show a couple weeks ago, Eric is a musician. And I offered him the opportunity to provide music to the Cindel song from the Battle for Endor. And I've actually sent an MP3 of the Cindel song to Eric Walker, but he's traveling right now, so he'll get to it when he gets back. Okay. But just to kill some time, here is the actual Cindel song that I was referencing from Battle for Endor.
My star keeps me company and leads me through the night. My star watches over me and fills my dreams with light. Something's changed, but something shines forever as they are. In the sky, shining high, my star.
Yes! Cindel! Taylor Swift's got nothing on you, girl.
Wow, that was just off the dome, too.
I don't know. I thought it was a little pitchy. It's a little pitchy, You got to iron it out. You got to get out there and perform. All right, so that's Cindel. That's been sent to Eric Walker. So he can add some musical accompaniment to it. And I just thought it would be a great opportunity for him to be able to work with Cindel once again.
Right.
Because I could tell in his voice that he was missing the old days. And so I presented him with the opportunity. So while we're waiting for him, I was like, well, why should I wait for Eric Walker to put music to it when I can mess around with it and maybe put some music to it myself? So I started playing with the pitch on Cindel's voice. Just play this one for a second, Jason, because it's just weird.
Okay.
It's just weird. I lowered the pitch on her voice a little bit. And so here's the Cindel song, Low Voice.
My star keeps me company and leads me through the night. My star watches over me and fills my dreams with light. Something's changed, but something shines forever as they are. In the sky, shining high, my star.
Wow, she sounds like every girl that I did a scene with in a High School Musical. That's the sound of every 16-year-old's singing voice.
Oh, star. That lisp goes through some incredible transformations with the pitch being lowered.
Does it ever?
I really couldn't think of anything I could do with that particular recording. So I started playing around with the pitch a little more. And at some point, somehow Cindel ended up sounding a little squirrely to me. So just play a second, maybe a few seconds of this next one because it's rather insane. Cindel squirrely.
My star keeps me company
and leads me
through the night.
All right, turn it on.
Wait, whoa, what happened?
I don't know.
That's like one of our talking dolls that we have.
That's right, running out
malfunctioning.
So I kept playing around with the piece of audio, and I decided to make a top 40 mix of the Cindel song. So you might be hearing this, like on Kiss FM or whatever your top 40 local radio station is. Because this will go viral. I'm confident of it. This will go viral. It'll be like Gangnam Style or something where it becomes a big deal. So here's the Cindel song, my personal top 40 mix.
A dedication to Wicket the Ewok.
Exactly.
From your pal Cindel.
My star keeps me company and leads me through the night. My star watches over me and fills my dreams with light. Some things change, but something shines forever as they are in the sky, shining high. My star.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow, I was just thinking Kanye West is a huge fan of Star Wars, and if he hears that and he knows that that's available to sample in his next big project, Hell's Bells.
So that's my remix of it. I'm not exactly Dr. Dre level talent when it comes to being a producer like that, when, top 40 pop producer. I try my damnedest, but that was the best I can do with that little masterpiece. So I'm sure Eric Walker he'll submit something that has a little bit more rhythm and works with the actual key that girl is singing in. And I stopped short of creating the death metal version of the Cindel song, but, there's always a show next week.
Let's pray for some big breaking news next week. I have to stop and give a shout out to a Rebel Force Radio listener, Chris Smith. So, Jim, I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, Todd, who you met when we did Skywalker Rises when we did the Solo in Ohio bit. We went to see the film. Todd was the one that showed up late. Remember, we were all waiting outside. Where's Todd? Anyway, so Todd is doing a Zoom call for his job, and he notices that the guy he's talking to has Star Wars stuff in his office background. He's got a Stormtrooper helmet and stuff, and so Todd goes, "Hey, you a Star Wars fan?" And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, big Star Wars fan, love Star Wars." He goes, "You ever listen to Star Wars podcasts before?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Ever listen to Rebel Force Radio?" He goes, "I love Rebel Force Radio. I love Rebel." He goes, "Well, Jason, Jason Swag is a friend of mine." So anyway, the guy's name is Chris Smith, and he's a Rebel Force Radio listener. And he said, "Oh, I'll prove that I know Jason. I'll get you a shout out." So here's your shout out, Chris Smith. Thank you for listening to the show. But it's funny when those things happen. I think I might have shared this story. Gosh, I hope I did. And I know this happens to you. Of course, Jim, you've worked in radio forever, and your wife is a superstar in radio, and so it's not uncommon to get sort of noticed. But I was doing an assignment at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland for the day job a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago, and standing there getting ready, have the game face on for the day job, and guy comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, I'm a big fan of Rebel Force Radio." Of course, I'm with a couple of colleagues, and that makes me feel like, hey,
sure. Oh, that's
big deal. Big deal. But it does happen every once in a while. And I'm sure you've been out, and people have heard your voice, or they've heard Wendy's voice, and they go, "You're Wendy from the radio."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We always have to put on our happy faces when we're out in public because you never know who's watching us. And, probably the most thrilling time for me was on one of those trips to Orlando to the Disney parks. And it was late, like the last hour the park was open, and we were going on all of our favorite rides in, that real hectic, fast-paced way because the lines are all gone. So you could go on those rides right before it closes, and you try to shove them all in. And we were running onto Splash Mountain. And as we were getting in the line, a cast member at Disney stopped me and said, "Hey, Jimmy Mack from Rebel 4, I love you and I love your show. And a lot of the cast members here at the park spotted you today. And so people have been saying they've seen you around." And I'm like, oh my God, probably like yelling at my kids in the midsummer Orlando heat, right before one of their torrential downpours that come out of nowhere. And, everyone's fighting and, oh, hey, look, it's Jimmy Mack. But, he did that. He stopped me and he did that. And it was in front of my boys and everything. And I could tell they thought that was pretty cool that somebody listens to Goofy Dad's old show. So, hey, Jason, as long as we're giving the shout outs, I'm going to do this one. This came across my desk this morning, and it's a little early for us to be doing this kind of shout out. And we don't typically do birthday shout outs or anything like this, but I just wanted to do this because it sounds like this guy deserves it. I received this email from Vicky Thornton from the UK, who says, "Hi, guys. My husband, Chris Curtin, is a huge fan of the show, and I'd really love it if you could give him a shout out on the podcast. I don't even know if this is something you would do, but I'd really appreciate it if you could. He listens all the time, and we were lucky enough to bump into Jason at Celebration in Chicago. We flew over just for the event, and he was in heaven. I've been poorly blank recently." She must have forgotten a word, but something tells me she says, "I've been poorly recently with a long recovery." So she's obviously been recovering from something, and it doesn't sound good, and so we hope she's having a really solid recovery. But she says, "Curtis has been amazing at looking after me and our little Padawans. I know this would make his day. His birthday is May 27th. So I'm a little early, but happy birthday to Chris Curtin for being a great Star Wars fan, a listener of RFR, and what sounds like an amazing dad and husband." Yeah. So Vicky says, anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks so much for taking the time to read this. Keep up the good work. May the Force be with you. So happy birthday to Chris Curtin in Old Stratford. And his wife, Vicky, we wish her to have a safe and swift recovery. Happy birthday to Curtis, and congrats on being such a great dad, Star Wars fan, Rebel Force Radio listener, and husband. So, something we should all strive for. I got a package.
Oh,
this is one more shout out.
Yeah, I see bubble wrap inside, so it's one of those Jiffy Pop style envelopes, so you know it's something good in there.
This is from longtime RFR listener Manoa Crane. And I obviously haven't opened this yet, so I don't know what's in here.
Live on air.
Live on air, but this is some little treat for you and me, Jason, I'm sure. Oh, my goodness. What is this? It is a, it's a T-shirt. And, Jason, I'm going to let you read what the shirt says.
Whoa. What? Oh, my God. Look at that. Look at that. STFU and make Star Wars.
Rebel Force Radio in sort of in the Star Wars font. It looks kind of like the title to Empire Strikes Back, the logo for that. It says STFU and make Star Wars. And that's my response to any creative cast member or Lucasfilm staffer who thinks we actually give a crap about what they think via social media.
Right.
And here's a Star Wars funnel.
Ooh. Man, look at
I forget. Why do I have a Star Wars funnel?
Wait.
What is the purpose of the funnel?
You just got this in the mail, the Star Wars funnel? Or
it
you
came
just
from
have
Manoa.
This okay, so all this came from Manoa. Just when you thought that George hadn't put the Star Wars logo on everything, here comes the Star Wars funnel. Wow.
And this is amazing.
I'm really jealous of that funnel. Well, that's the most odd crazy Star Wars collectible I've ever seen. Well, I mean, you could use it in the kitchen. You could use it in the garage with your car.
Sure. I could use it for all sort of nefarious things. So I could use it as a hat.
Look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this is amazing because I was actually going to ask for this for Father's Day, and Manoa sent it. What makes it even better is it's a commuter mug. I needed a new commuter mug, and this one has the RFR logo on it.
We don't even sell those in the store. Well, what, I mean,
he's got merch for RFR that we don't even
he's
have.
sending you merch for the show. That's beautiful. Can you hold that up again? That's beautiful. Look at
There's
that.
a straw. There's a straw that goes with it.
Dang, that is nice. Manoa. What a
Okay, well, here's a nice note he sent. Here, I guess here's a picture of me and Manoa he sent to me. I hope I'm saying his name
cool
right.
name, by the way, Manoa.
Yeah, Manoa, Manoah. What's up, Mac? I hope you like the goodie bag. My wife is super crafty, so we thought it might be nice to send a care package for all the amazing years you have given us with all the shows for the last 11 years. 11. You and Sway, we're going, this is our 16th year. Is there? No, it's our 15th year. I'm sorry.
15.
For the last, but for the last 11 years. See, Manoa missed a few good ones. He missed the first 4 years. You and Swank have been the thing I can count on to get me through my Monday mornings and have become a huge part of my fandom. That's so nice. P.S. If either you or Swank don't want your Star Wars funnel, then make Richard Cheese dreams come true and send it to him. I will. That's where it comes from. Cheese had mentioned that there's, we were trying, I think he joked about there not being a funnel with the Star Wars logo on it. So here it is.
I bought it. I mean, those of you who are not Patreon supporters in the are not seeing the video here, but we're looking at the video, and this is, it looks legit to me. I don't know. I don't know how this guy, I don't know how Manoa pulled this off. Where do you buy? Where do you get custom branded funnels? I
That's
guess
pretty impressive.
If you own an oil change place, it might be something.
I seem to recall Cheese saying something about a Star Wars funnel and merchandise or something.
Oh my God.
And then the mug, that's awesome. And the STFU and Make Star Wars shirt. I'm going to cherish this. And it's my size. Thank you. Perfect. So nothing for Jason. I thought there would be something in here for you, but maybe Mrs. Crane will get crafty again and create a care package for Mr. Swank.
Well,
because,
I do have something that I want to show. And of course, I wasn't sent this by any kind listener, but you know what this is right here?
What do you got? What is that? Oh, it's a box of toys.
It's a box of toys. So this is Case Fresh.
Case Fresh action
Case
figures.
Fresh action figures.
Just delivered to the Jason house, the RFR Studios.
Is I want to show you the best one. Let's see. Here we go, baby. This is Mandalorian Vintage Retro Collection.
The retro collection made to look like the old school Star Wars action figures.
Hold on,
Mandalorian characters.
Let me switch this around.
Fantastic.
There we go. I was
there
reversed there. Now you can see it a little bit better.
That looks great.
Yeah.
So you got him. I'm still waiting on mine.
And then here's the Baby Yoda, the little Grogu. I gotta say, I mean, these are ridiculously fun. I mean, just to have these new characters in that familiar form.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to be talking a lot more collecting and action figures with Scott, the toy guru, Neitlich, and we're so happy to have Scott. So let's do it. Let's head off into the cantina this week.
A fine addition to my collection.
Star Wars Cantina.
Where are you going, Master?
For a drink.
Sorry about the mess.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
All right, I told you to get the toys out because we're going to have playtime here in the cantina with Scott, the toy guru, Neitlich, and we are so happy to have him joining us. Scott, great to have you with us.
And that's one of my favorite Weird Al songs ever. That was an awesome intro.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. We got to correct you. We can't let this go by.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is that not Weird
We got to
Al?
school you. We got to school you.
It's not
no.
Weird Al. It's actually it's a guy, Richard Cheese, and we just had him on the show about a month ago, and he talked about how that song always was getting confused as being a Weird Al song.
And I'm living proof of that. I will turn in my Star Wars Bantha Tracks card right now. I'm so embarrassed.
No, don't be, because I think you're in good company, but Richard is a friend of the show, and I couldn't let it go and live with myself if we didn't correct you. But it is funny because he did mention that. But it is such a great thing to have you on the program. I've been watching your videos, Scott. I probably discovered your YouTube channel, I don't know, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, which, you know, in YouTube time, that's a long time. Been watching them forever, but over at Spectre Creative. And for those that have been in the hobby of collecting or of toys, I mean, they recognize you. When they would watch coverage of big toy events like Toy Fair and New York Comic Con and all that, you were one of the guys out there on the floor, the guy for brand, you know, companies like Mattel and Jakks Pacific, kind of doing, you know, the demos and, you know, that's sort of the front facing stuff, but also doing a lot of the behind the scenes work as well. We're going to ask you lots about your history as a Star Wars fan, but for those that are unfamiliar with you in terms of your career, give us a little rundown of you as a toy maker and a toy insider.
All right, sure. As they say in the other Star Wars film, it's not a Star Wars film, the quick version.
Yeah.
So I started with Mattel, was the first company I worked for, but I've always been a collector. I was actually I lived in Southern California and was trying to get a job with Mattel for years until fate came around and I wound up getting hired as a writer in their Hot Wheels group. I was the guy who named all the little Hot Wheels cars.
Oh, cool.
And then after about 2 years in that gig, I had made a proposal to upper management with the idea that we weren't doing anything for the adult collector, which was me. I was spending all my money on Hasbro and NECA and other companies. So I made a pitch. I put together a business proposal, and the short version is I was moved over from the writing group at Hot Wheels to the boys action figure marketing group, where I started a business that became MattyCollector.com, which was Mattel's, at the time, premier collector on website, where we did basically figure of the month programs for He-Man and Ghostbusters and DC superheroes. While at the same time, I was actually also managing the DC Universe Classics line at retail. That was like the DC version of Marvel Legends.
Legendary toy line. I mean, one of the best.
So much love went into it. So much love. That was actually my real
I mean, you
job
did the Wonder Twins, man. You did the Wonder Twins.
Gleek poorly, but yes, we did the Wonder Twins. And it's one of the things that bothers me as a Star Wars collector is I still don't have Slim Aloo and that mustached Bespin guard, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, completing like the Superpowers line that was out in the 80s for DC was always our goal with DC Classics, and we did that. We even did figures that were in the unreleased last wave, which included the Super Friends. They were supposed to be in the next wave. So yeah, and then Masters of the Universe Classics was also a big one I worked on that was only available online, and that took off beyond my wildest dreams. The three brands I was into as a kid was Star Wars #1, He-Man #2, and then probably Transformers, and all of that was actually surrounded by Constructs, which was a building set, but it was perfect for 3 3/4 because you could make vehicles and play sets using them. So getting to work on these brands that I actively collected and loved as a kid was amazing. And then the reason I left Mattel, because I had the opportunity to work on Star Wars. I was recruited to be the director of toys at Jakks Pacific, and that was right in the middle of their Big Figs line, right when we were doing Episode 7 and Rogue One. So I was there for both of those movies and the corresponding Big Figs. And yeah, I got to go to Lucasfilm. I got to, get the tour of the whole facility. I got to, go in and get the presentation for Episode 7 and Rogue One. And, you know, the whole time I felt like I was Augustus Gloop at the chocolate factory. Like, what am I doing here? You know, like I can't. Well, maybe more like Charlie. You know, I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. So
now you didn't leak anything from those presentations. Yeah, those presentations at Lucasfilm are known for the leaks coming out of those, especially those loose lips at Hasbro.
Yeah, it was very interesting how they gave us less and less information as we went along. But yeah, no, we had to like sign in blood and, you know, all this stuff, promise our firstborn. And yeah, no, we were really actually, and they took it really, I mean, the company, Jax, I remember there was one big fig and it was, I think it was like even an original trilogy figure, but it showed up in an image in episode 7 packaging. And it wasn't even, it was like at a Fisher Price office, which was crazy. That's a Mattel company. Yeah. But like they took it really, it's so, you know, hunting it down, how it got there, how the photo got online. But that was the only leak that ever came out of Jax. So proud of that.
So you made the move from Mattel over to Jax because of the opportunity to work on Star Wars specifically.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Well, so my previous boss at Mattel was now at Jax. And he knew that I was a big Star Wars guy and I knew how to tap into the collector audience. So he basically called me and was like, hey, you know, I need a director of marketing. What do you think about working on the Star Wars line? And they brought me over and showed me their showroom. And I mean, what was in the showrooms, like what we actually see what gets shipped is usually like 25% of what gets made. I was seeing like the full 100%, like stuff that never, you know, the prototypes.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking like, you know, big fig scale speeder bikes and Rancors and, you know, like, I mean, so much stuff. And I was like blown away, like, wow, I can work on this. So yeah, you know, after some negotiations and deal points, I made the switch and moved over to Jax. And then after that, I had a brief stint at some other small companies like Jada, where I created the Nano Minis line, which was actually based on the old Kenner Star Wars metal line from the 80s. There's the big figs. Yep, that's me. Those were my baby. And we did 3 different scales. We did like a Darth Vader that was 48 inches tall. It was insane.
Yes, I remember. I mean, that was so exciting going into the Toys R Us, rest in peace, TRURIP, with those giant, almost, you know, for a kid, like life-sized action figures. I guess you could call them action figures. They were more like, you know, I don't know, like little, they were statues. Yeah.
Or, you know, giant. I think we called it like, you know, my toy, my buddy was like the way we were marketing it. It was like, you know, and
were those big sellers? Can I ask, were those big sellers for Jax?
If the best way to know if something is a big seller is to know if it's around the next year. So that's a good indicator. That's scaled, and I mean, you know, they knew that was much more of a publicity item than a seller. You know,
that's a great point. That's a great point, because you would go in and it made for this incredible display of merch. So that's interesting that that's something that they considered as a a display piece that you could buy.
Leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would bring people into the toy aisle. You know, they would see it.
Right.
So, and then one of the other big things I was really glad to have worked on at Jax was one year I more or less got to design the Comic-Con items. And that year we did big figs of Darth Vader as a hologram and Boba Fett from his parade debut in 1978 when he was in a parade, which was the deco the Kenner figure was based on. And I was really determined to do a deco for Boba Fett that Hasbro had never done. You know, I wanted to sort of like, not show them up, but show them up.
Right.
You know, and be like, you know, like, and I was really excited we got to do that, because that toy still hasn't been done by Hasbro. So.
That's well, there's so much to talk to you about, Scott. But so we kind of covered some territory about you as a professional in the toy industry, but let's go back and find out when, because we want to get into your collection, because I think it's really fascinating about the parameters that you kind of set up for yourself as a Star Wars collector. But Where did Star Wars find you? What generation do you identify with? Original trilogy? Were you one of those kids that was, waiting outside the movie theaters in the 70s and 80s, or were you more of a, expanded universe or prequel trilogy? I don't want you to date yourself, but date yourself.
No, legitimate question. This isn't, this isn't hidden information. So I was born in 1978, the year after Star Wars came out, but it was still in theaters because back then there was no VHS, and the movies were in theater. A New Hope was in theaters for like 4 years. So my parents tell me that when I was 6 months old in, I guess, 78, 79, they took me to go see Star Wars on their lap as an infant. And they weren't sure, what was going to happen, if I was going to cry or, take me out of theater. They said that my dad put me on his lap, and I stared at the screen solid for 2 hours without moving my head.
Nice.
So that was clearly the brainwashing that started it all when I was 6 months old. So I grew up original trilogy when Empire and Jedi came out, especially Jedi, because I was then kind of old enough to know what was happening. That was really the movie I remember looking forward to that coming out in the theater. Empire was kind of a blur, but Jedi, I remember being like, oh my gosh, there's another Star Wars movie coming out, and seeing the ads in newspapers. So I grew up with all the Kenner stuff. I had a ridiculous amount, and I'm so grateful for that. I had the Darth Vader case, the 3PO case, and filled them both up. Had the Falcon, had, X-Wings. I remember getting, the Y-Wing for my birthday. My parents putting it on the edge of my bed. So I woke up and it was sitting there.
Wow.
Then I kind of got out of Star Wars and then got back into it in high school because I met a friend, Brian, in theater class who was really into Star Wars. And he brought up things like Wedge Antilles and Biggs Darklighter. And I was like, what are you talking about? Who the hell are they? I'd never heard of them. And so he was really into the West End Games books with the General Kraken's Guide. That was like before the Decipher cards, which, was like the first time those background characters were fleshed out. So
That's right.
He is completely responsible for getting me back into Star Wars because he introduced me to this whole other level. And, just blew me away that like there was, like T-16, Skyhopper races and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about the time the special editions came out while I was in high school. But before that, I was, definitely I was getting it. I had bought the Power of the Force 2. I said I was only going to get Chewbacca and Darth Vader. And, here we are 25 years later, and I have every single figure that's been released.
Do you? Every single figure. You really have every single figure.
Well,
he's got a bit. It's a cardboard box. It's all beat up.
All right. Well,
it looks like the thing we used to transport our gear in a very similar cardboard box.
All right, hold on a second.
Very beat up.
So you can. All right.
Okay. Now
oh my God! He's showing us drawers and drawers and drawers of action figures.
All right. So you know how your dad and your grandpa used to keep like random screws in those cabinets with those little drawers that you would pull out. This is what he's got. We're seeing this. This is incredible. So it's almost like
it's all labeled.
Yeah. This is amazing. So. Each figure, is it each figure? It has its own drawer, Scott, or is it each character?
Yeah,
or?
I'm like I know it's like a piss poor camera, but can you see?
Yeah,
in
get
the
an
drawer
idea
there?
What's going on in here?
So
it's not so piss poor that we can't see how insane you are. Look, look how anal. All the drawers they're all labeled. He just pulled a droid out of one of them. And I could spend hours in there just going through all the drawers.
One of the things that I saw on one of your videos, Scott, is you have a notebook that you started in high school. You're like George Lucas, where it's all by hand. You're writing by hand, in longhand in this notebook at the release of every Hasbro action figure by Wave. Yeah, he's showing it to us. It's a right journal. There. This is, and you're still adding to it. It's been how many years now?
How long? Since 95.
Right. Yeah, since 95. My gosh. And there's something about, people might point to I've got an Excel spreadsheet, but there's something really special about you taking pen to notebook and tracking it and writing it down. And I should say, just to remind everybody that the YouTube channel is Spectre Creative, and there's a number of playlists. And but my favorite is this series that Scott's doing, the Modern Star Wars Toys, the series, and you're going wave by wave. However, there is an asterisk here because you did set a very specific parameter around your collecting. And why don't you tell folks what that is?
Right, yeah. So just like even carrying forward from your last question, so I grew up with the original trilogy. I like the prequels; they're not bad. But as far as a Star Wars collector, I'm a completist with the original trilogy. So what you saw back there in those drawers is every original trilogy figure right now from 1995 Chewbacca through Bespin Escape Leia that just came out like a week or two ago. So I do have some prequel figures. I have a few Disney figures, and then a couple of the comic book figures. But if it's original trilogy, that's my, OCD. And one of the things I'm doing with this series on YouTube is because I've been keeping this journal since the first Power of the Force 2 wave, I know the exact release order of every figure, including mail-aways, including deluxe figures, including figures that came with things. So it's not the order I got them. It's the order that they came. So every time a figure would come out, even if I didn't have it, but I would hear it was out on the internet or, someone would say, I have it, I would write it down in order. So I've been tracking literally the order they came out. And that's how I'm doing the series.
I love that the notebook is like a field guide. Like some people are out looking at birds and writing things down. You're at the Target writing down action figures. It's just the passion is awesome. And of course you're talking to two kindred spirits here. Jimmy Mack has an incredible collection. All of his, for the most part, are on display, and it's super impressive. I'm a little bit more like you, Scott. I'm kind of that anal retentive. I got everything in big bins and boxes, and I'm a carded collector. But I think we all suffer from the same disease. I mean, there's a lot of passion, but where there's passion, there can be sometimes frustration, anger, disappointment, and all these things. And that's something we've been talking a little bit about. We cover it all on Rebel Force Radio, all things Star Wars. But when we talk about the collecting and the toys and the figures, we start hearing from listeners and we ourselves are, why can't Hasbro do this? And I go to the stores and there's nothing on the shelves. Or in Jimmy Mack's case, I don't want to speak for him. He can speak quite eloquently on his own. But, the Black Series versus the 3 3/4 and the abandonment and all that. And what's really great about your content is that you speak from the heart as a collector, but you also speak from the knowledge of being someone who's worked in the business, so the practicality of it. So some of the problems that people are having, and I'll just throw these out at you, and you as an expert might be able to expound on these, is it seems like the Black Series is eating the lunch of the 3 3/4 inch series. And why is it? How did that happen?
Sure, great question. And everything you said, yes, very much why I started the channel. Well, COVID and I was bored. But I definitely felt I had a unique voice to bring to the YouTube Star Wars and toy collecting community because, it's like the hair club for men. I'm also a member. And there's not that many. I think people would be shocked at how few toy collectors there are working in the industry. I was definitely an anomaly. So here's what's going on with the Black Series versus the vintage. And believe me, I'm just, as a collector, I get just as upset. But yeah, it's like, but the adult in me knows why. So mixing metaphors here between shredded wheat and hair club product. Okay, so when the Black Series first came out, it came out more as a novelty, as like, oh, here's like another way we could sell Star Wars toys. It was really never meant to be like the lead dog. And I actually did a video on my channel on Spectre Creative YouTube. You can see where the quick bottom line version is there were a lot of factors that happened over the last about 8 years that threw the vintage line off the tracks. The biggest one being when Disney bought the property and put a halt to the current plans, which was the 3D release of Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. So the toys that were supposed to go with the Attack of the Clones 3D got reshuffled and became the first Black Series 3 and 3/4. They were supposed to be part of the second Build-A-Droid wave on Grey Card because they actually went into production. That shows you how far along they went before Disney pulled the plug. So the first big mistake was the fact that the 3 and 3/4 was being called Black Series along with 6-inch. And it really blurred for the consumer, for the industry, for retailers, what was the Black Series. They stopped the vintage collection, which was going great. And a lot of that happens because brand managers in the toy industry, the people in charge of a brand at Mattel, Hasbro, Spin Master, Jax, really don't stay in a job for more than 2 years. But the toy cycle is 3 years. So essentially, a brand manager comes in. The first thing they have to do is clean up the mess from their predecessor. Then they want to put their own stamp on things. And then they get the hell out of Dodge and move on to another brand before their stuff hits shelf. And then the cycle
Why is the shelf
repeats.
life
So
why is it so short for them? I mean, why don't they stick around for a little bit longer? I know Daryl DePriest was brand manager of the Star Wars line for definitely longer than 2 or 3 years. Why is that nowadays there's a revolving door in that position?
Yeah, and I mean, Daryl's actually a good friend of mine. He and I became very good friends in the industry, especially because I worked on Batman, which was his favorite thing, and he worked on Star Wars, which was my favorite thing, so we would swap. If you make a stink, you get to stay on the brand, which is what I did too, and Daryl did. But it's not up to the brand managers, it's actually the company. So Mattel and Hasbro likes so that they get to know the whole company. That's just the way they function. And it's an unfortunate, kind of tail wagging the dog or, eating its own tail kind of thing, metaphor. But because no one sticks around long enough to claim ownership or to take responsibility for a line that is decisions, because that then gets passed on to the next person. A perfect example is last year, Star Wars was really, in the vintage series, was really promoting the whole finish the 96, right? You saw that on, a lot of slides and shins. Well, that brand manager has moved on, and the new brand manager doesn't even know that existed as a campaign, which is why you don't see it anymore. So, like, that promise that was made by the previous brand manager has now completely fallen away, and the new brand manager is focused on something completely different, which is that 6-inch Black Series is selling better. The reason it's selling better is the price point. When you compare. Here I have a Black Series Stormtrooper and a 3 3/4 Stormtrooper, although this is not a vintage series one, but you get the point. So you see both of these in aisle, and the 6-inch one is $20. The 3 3/4 one, let's pretend this is a vintage series figure from the Solo 5-pack at Target, 7-pack. See, that's how well I know these things. This is going to go for $14. This is going to be $20. So what's mom going to purchase? For $6 more, I get so much more value. So that's basically. Sorry, I'm trying to center these on the camera here.
No, that's okay.
There we go.
What's interesting, Scott, is because you're in your videos too. You also talk about mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma in the toy aisle making the decision, and we as collectors tend to think that it's the collector in the toy aisle. And one of the things that I've learned from your videos is that despite what we may think, it's still the decisions being made are geared towards the kids and the consumer, which is the mom and the dad of the kids, and not the collector. I think you threw out a stat in one of your videos that the collectors make up, 10, 20% maybe of the market?
If that. Even if you look at the description of Hasbro product, like their official retail copy, if you will, for Black Series or Marvel Legends, the description says, great for kids and fans of all ages. Because we're so emotionally connected to them, decades, buying them, putting them in tiny little shelves, writing, whatever. We're, it's hard. It's hard to accept a fact when, and this is human nature, not just toy collectors. It's like finding out that you're religious or that dinosaurs never died out. Or things that are inbred in us to believe. To find out that that's not true, the immediate reaction is to reject it. And to be like, no, that's not true. That can't possibly be true. It's like Luke in Cloud City. I am your father, and his reaction is, that's impossible.
Yeah,
but I want to push back on this just a little bit, because I'll tell you why I think that this is a little bit flawed, is because that would mean something if the collectors were actually able to collect the product. But the distribution has been so poor that entire waves go by collectors and they never have the opportunity to purchase this product. So how can they judge what collector interest is if they're underserving the collector to begin with?
Absolutely.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a catch-22. And part of it is because of the loss of toy stores. So we are now completely dependent on big box stores. And big box stores are not set up to sell product to collectors at all. The reason being is that big box stores, your Walmart, your Targets, your Myers, etc., they are designed to based around the number of units sold per peg. And for the most part, each peg for any product in the entire store, whether it's chopped carrots, scented candles, or Boba Fett's, are supposed to sell 1 unit per week. And if a peg sells 1 unit per week, it's doing what it needs to do. So the way the collector buying habits work is that either one of us, a collector comes in, or a scalper, sees a new case pack on shelf and buys the entire thing at once. Well, what this tells the computer at the big box store is that, oh, you just made 8 weeks worth of sales in 1 day. Now you don't need to worry about this peg for 8 weeks. Not, oh, reorder because there's demand. Does that make sense?
It does. Unfortunately, sadly it does. And it paints a bleak picture about the lack of human touch, or like a person even paying attention to this stuff, that's what bothers me, is that it's all just left to computer calculations, and thus a huge segment of the Star Wars fan base is being poorly underserved, thus leaving money on the table.
And I actually wrote an academic paper about this with a professor from Duquesne University that we're publishing.
Of course you
because
did.
I agree with everything you just said. I'll put a link as soon as it's published later this year. But it's my first academic paper since college.
Wow.
The issue is the big box stores, they can't function so narrowly that they can handle an aisle, let alone a peg. They have to have a policy that's blanket for the entire store. So look at something like screwdrivers, right? A new case of screwdrivers comes into the hardware section. No one's going to come in and buy the full case pack.
Of course
right?
not.
That just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, adult collector product functions differently. Someone will come in and potentially buy 8 weeks worth of product by buying the entire case pack, all 8 figures at once. So asking the big box stores to have a policy that they can not only focus on an aisle, but a peg, because not all pegs in the toy aisle function like that. 3 pegs down from the vintage series are Minecraft figures that don't sell like that.
My solution would be then go around the big box stores, and a corporation like Hasbro grab the bull by its horns and go direct to the collector via a subscription service where each figure can be then sent out to each collector who is signed up for the subscription.
Just a footnote on that. That was announced at one of the Star Wars celebrations officially by Hasbro that there would be a figure subscription, and it never rolled out.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now, see, they must have had a shake-up in department heads after they made that announcement or something along those lines. And I know that independent sellers had a subscription service. I remember somebody, maybe it was Hasbro Toy Shop, maybe they did try that for a while, but it went by the wayside.
As a toy industry guy, Scott, does a subscription service make sense? Does it
Direct to
work?
consumer.
Okay, so a subscription service. So here's the deal with that. And I ran a subscription service at Mattel. We talked about Maddie Collector, and we did a Figure of the Month Club. And yes, you are right. Hasbro talked about that, but just like I said, one brand manager talked about that, and then another one came in and had no idea his predecessor talked about that. You know, it's like how they forgot to release Darth Raven. Same thing. So
yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious. They like literally just forgot to release him. Okay, so the problem with the subscription service is while that would please the fans and the consumers, what we were talking about earlier about what a small number of us there really are. And part of the problem is justifying the headcount. Managing a subscription service and the details basically requires a full-time person dealing with that, as opposed to, you know, like the person doing the retail line is dealing with the retail line. Then if you create a subscription, you've created sort of a second job managing Star Wars figures, and you need a dedicated person just to oversee that. With me so far?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So also just making sure you can hear me.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that the sales that would generate, and this, I know this is true from the companies I've worked for, probably would not, and I mean, I've never worked for Hasbro, so I don't want to speak for them, but would not generate enough sales to justify the headcount, to justify hiring someone just to do it. As an example, when I was on Maddie Collector and I was running the Motu Classic subscription line, I was doing that on top of my assigned Mattel job. My assigned job in the books was to run the DC line at retail, including the Green Lantern movie line and some other stuff. What I was doing on Maddie Collector, the best way to say it, was a passion project. It was something I did in my off time. I did it on the weekends and at night. I mean, I did do it during the day, but I would have to spend nights and weekends working on it too. And I did it for the love of toys. And I didn't realize how hard I was working at Mattel until I left Mattel and I started at Jax, and I was doing like 25% of the work. I'm like, whoa, this is all you want me to do and you're going to pay me for this? I was doing like so much more. So finding an insane person like me willing to manage a subscription program in addition to a retail program, that's sort of the issue, is hiring a new person just for the subscription. The revenue from that is not very likely to generate enough revenue to justify a new hire.
Okay.
Each new hire, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I see where you're going, and it makes total sense. So here's the next scenario or question is, would Hasbro, or does it make sense? Have we gotten to a place where Star Wars as a toy brand, in terms of 3 3/4 inch scale, is now should be relegated to a more boutique manufacturer, a Super 7 or a company that is scaled to handle collectors specifically? What do you think about that?
Well, in a perfect world, that would, yes, much like Mattel gave Super 7 the 6-inch He-Man line. Same thing, because Super 7 was equipped to do that. The reason that won't happen is because Hasbro will never give up, let their license be carved up like that. Unless Disney, as the license owner, sees 3 3/4 as a big enough cash cow that they feel like that scale is not being milked enough, and they pull it away from Hasbro because they say, you're not, if you don't do more, we're going to pull it from you. But, and this is part of the whole emotional connection, is we're so emotionally connected to 3 3/4, but from a business standpoint, and they have to appease the stockholders, they don't care what scale they're putting out. They just care what's selling. So the idea that, you know, like we as collectors will often, and I put this in videos on my Spectra Creative YouTube channel, will say, Hasbro, you owe me. I've been collecting these figures for 25 years. You owe me Slimaloo, and you owe me the mustache guard, and you owe me nonstop 3 3/4. Well, Hasbro are going to say, no, we're going to put out what sells, and if 2-inch sells or 6-inch or 12-inch sells, that's what we'll put out. And we're trying to attract kids to the brand. You guys are gravy. And that's the hard truth of it, is that, we always say, doesn't Hasbro care about us? And it's not that they don't care, but they care way more about hitting their sales targets than they do pleasing us. And their stockholders care about them hitting their sales targets. And if putting out, 5-inch figures or 12-inch figures does that, that's where they're going, and that's why they're putting out more 6-inch.
Why then do they constantly experiment with action figures of different scales? Right now, there's 2.5-inch action figures out now. It's a line called Mission or something like that. And I see it. That's the only thing I ever see on the pegs anymore is that crap, because it doesn't sell. Yep. So why take a risk instead of banking on something that's been traditionally purchased by Star Wars fans for more than 4 decades?
Perfect question. And going back to my last answer, it's exactly that. The reason they're experimenting with all these scales, like the Mission series and those sort of animated, sort of ish 5-inch figures they put out for episode 9, is because they're literally throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. The reason 3 3/4 has a hard time is because to put out a good 3 3/4 figure, there's no way to put one out for less than $10, like the retro figures. And to put out a good one, you're going towards about $15. So again, it goes back to price value. If mom is seeing a 3 3/4 figure for $15 and they're seeing a 6-inch figure for $20 or $22, the price value is in 6-inch. And kids and moms and gift givers are just so beyond our wildest dreams the largest purchaser of this product. 3 3/4 worked for the last 20 years because it was cheap enough to make. It worked with vehicles, which was why it was originally created, was a vehicle-compatible scale.
Right.
And that's why they've gone to this 2-inch line, is they're trying to recreate that figure-in-vehicle play pattern at a price point that's easier for the bulk of people who purchase it. So the reason you're seeing these experimental scales is because they're trying to find something that'll work with kids. Kids are not into Star Wars anymore. Mandalorian might make a difference, but the last 3 movies had no effect on kids the way the first original trilogy did on our generation. It just changed our lives forever.
Or the prequels,
and
for
in
that
some
matter.
extent, yeah, and some extent the prequels. But the new movies, 7, 8, 9, they're like Avatar. It was fun to watch, but nobody had no cultural footprint after it left.
Right.
So that's why you're seeing all this experimental scales. They're trying to find something that'll work with kids. And they're banking on that figure with vehicle play pattern that worked for so many years, but doing a scale that's more economical from a SRP standpoint.
Scott, we're coming up against the clock. We know you got to go. There was one thing. I know we're just getting
I'll come
into
back,
the good
by the way.
stuff.
I can totally.
We would love to have you
I
back.
can do for more than an hour.
But there was an anecdote that you shared on one of your videos, and I thought Jim might find this particularly interesting, was with the vintage collection and that Phantom Menace wave, and how that just completely derailed the vintage collection at retail. And I thought it was just such an amazing illustration of the disconnect between the collector and the Star Wars fan and the people that were making the buying decisions at retail. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically recapping kind of what I said in the video is when Phantom Menace came out in 1999, the Midnight Madness event, which I was there participating in it. I even made the cover of the local paper in Santa Barbara, which is crazy. Yeah, I know, right? Just the publicity I was looking for. So they made $1 million in 24 hours, which was like the fastest to $1 million any toy company's ever made. Wow. And Obviously that was because there was a huge drought of Star Wars product, and we all thought Phantom Menace was going to be a new Empire Strikes Back. It was going to be the greatest thing ever. And, we were all like, no way, Jar Jar's not going to suck. Like, wait till the movie comes out. It's going to be awesome. And so, that was a moment in time that, isn't going to be repeated because of what was happening. And yes, so when the vintage series for Phantom Menace came out to correlate with the 3D release, there were many people in the toy and retail and licensing world who just looked at the statistics and said, oh, the last time we released episode 1 product, it did $1 million overnight. And the movie's back in theaters. This is going to be huge. Like, it would be fools to miss this opportunity. Ship, more product. Increase production. Because they, as Doc Brown says, they weren't thinking fourth dimensionally and looking at the full picture.
Nope.
So, yeah, and that's, again, going back to my previous answer about how the turnover of brand managers in the toy industry as a whole, and it's not just a Hasbro thing. Everyone does this. There's no ownership. There's, Daryl DePriest staying on the line as long as he did. That's one of the reasons we saw such great stuff, is because he was responsible for his own actions. He was there long enough to see toys that he helped make get the shelf and either sell through or not and have to clean it up. So because that factor doesn't exist anymore, called the Daryl DePriest factor of a brand manager for Star Wars sticking around for 5 years or 10 years, there's no sense of ownership. And there's no sense of continuity. So things like a fan club or Finish the 96 that gets said by one brand manager, the next one comes along and has absolutely no clue that statement was even made and just wants to put their signature on it before they move off to Nerf or, My Little Pony next year.
All right, there's got to be a silver lining before you leave us. Is there, because as you said, you're not just a toy industry guy, you're also a huge fan and a collector. So is there anything out there on the horizon that makes you keeps you excited as a collector, or do you think that we're going to go away the way of the dinosaur here?
The adult collectors, I don't think ever going to go away, because it's an emotional connection that we have that's very unique. It makes us feel accomplished. It makes us feel in control, having all those figures in those cases, and I know where any figure is at any given moment. That's a very unique emotional connection. So there'll always be things to collect. For Star Wars in particular, a definite, new hope on the horizon has been how great The Mandalorian has been compared to the Disney movies. But as, my business, besides making YouTube videos at SpectraCreative.com, I am a toy consultant. I have a plan. I actually know exactly how to fix the vintage series. So if Hasbro wants to go over to SpectraCreative.com and call me, I can consult with them, because from my years of experience working on collector lines in the industry and collecting Star Wars, having those things come together. Yeah, I wasn't kidding about this book. I know exactly how to fix Star Wars 3 3/4 and fix it at retail. And I'm not just saying that trying to toot my own horn, but I think it's a pretty darn good plan. I've been putting it together for 30 years. So yeah, Hasbro, call me, SpectraCreative.com. I'm
call
sorry
the toy guru.
Yeah.
I would totally come back and we can schedule a longer time when I don't have a quick cutoff. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you guys. I love this.
I don't want to talk about action figures on this show without the toy guru from now on. You're gonna become, you're gonna get sick of us, Scott, I'm sure. Now, let me just throw my final question at you. Do you foresee a future in which we all own 3D printers, and instead of going to brick and mortar or ordering online, we simply order the plans for action figures and we produce them ourselves?
Good question. And there's actually a video on this on my channel. If you search by 3D printing, we're years off, if not decades from that. The problem is the only thing that we could probably get is maybe Lego or something like that. Being able to get articulated figures that with the way the joints work, the way the paint, the way the assembly works, 3D printers just aren't there yet. Maybe they will be. I mean, you know, like we didn't think iPhones would exist, and then suddenly they did.
right.
You know, there are,
That's right.
you know, electricity didn't exist, and then it did. So thanks to Nikola Tesla and Edison stealing it
that
from him.
Ben Franklin, man.
So
he was really on.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously breakthroughs can happen, but where we are now, we're not there. It's going to take a major break. Like the current 3D printer technology could not do that. It could print a Lego brick, and that's about it.
Wow, Scott,
it'd be great.
Thank you so much. Once again, the YouTube channel is you look for Spectre Creative, and do you have a new video coming? I'm waiting for the next Star Wars History of the Modern Line video. I think the last one was just a couple days ago.
New one today, actually.
Oh,
I did,
today? I haven't seen this one.
Mail away figures.
All right.
Yep. New one today. Fruit Loops Han Solo and Frito-Lay Obi-Wan.
I love it. I can't wait. All right, man. Thank you so much for spending time with us tonight, and we'll be in touch. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll find a time where I don't have a hard cutoff. It's been a pleasure, guys. I love talking about this stuff.
Thank you. Likewise.
Awesome.
Take care, bud.
Thanks, Scott.
All right.
All right. May the Force be with you.
And you.
Chewie, get us out of here!
Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.